A movie review from a Christian perspective. Today we're taking a look at Free Guy, the movie where NPCs are more believable than the real characters in the movie. Grab your coffee and let's dig in. In the extremely popular video game named Free City, an NPC named Guy learns the true nature of his existence when he meets the girl of his dreams, a human character. The player's interactions with Guy have massive effects on him, on the game, and on the real world they play. Well, would you recommend this?
I'd say with some caveats. There definitely is a lot of language. I mean, this is basically GTA. So keep that in mind. That's what Free City basically is a not copyrighted version of GTA. So they can get away with stealing it.
Yeah. So it's massive. All right. It is supposed to be that like the whole world is playing this game and everybody's involved in it. And
GTA Online, which you can do anything you want. 90% of players, of course, go with the whole evil character route.
Yeah. And would you say this is for all audiences?
No, definitely not. Intense use of language, definitely, and lots of, although there's not gore, lots of violence as far as what's going on, a lot of violent action, a lot of fighting.
Yeah, but I would say the action and the violence and stuff, it's so over. It's more of a, I'd say
comedy.
No,
level.
Not comedy. More like a Roadrunner type of stuff. It's so far out there. It's cartoonish.
Yeah. So again, that's GTA sort of level stuff.
Yeah, and I don't. It's so over the top. I think it makes it unbelievable. Now, would I say it's all for all audiences? No, it's PG-13 for a reason, and the language is there. And what bothered me was you had the kids playing the game and stuff like that, and younger kids. I mean, I would say we had our kids growing up. We said, oh, we have certain limits to some games that you guys can play and some that you can't. Because I mean, you're really in this, right? You're in the game and you're playing as a first-person shooter or something like that. So we limited their exposure, and these younger kids are playing this and cussing them out left and right. Whoa, come on, man!
I do admit that's probably realistic. There's definitely that sort of atmosphere within any online shooter game.
Right.
I mean, I remember playing like Call of Duty or any of those, and you'll get foul-mouthed individuals on there.
Oh yeah, if you're playing, if you have like audio, we'll listen to other players.
Other players, yeah, you can get pretty nasty. So that's kind of realistic, I'd say. But at the same time, it's like, you don't really need to show that either. I don't think it added anything to the show itself.
To the story?
Yeah. It wasn't a story, it was just an add-on.
Yeah, they had clips of, and some of the clips that they had of people that were playing were pretty funny. I don't want to say much because we're going to start dipping into the spoiler section. But before we get to that, I wanted to say that in this world of action and in-game adventure, so our goal for this is to kind of teach you how and to discover Christian themes, eternal messages that you can pull out and talk to other people about, and maybe analyze yourself. We're watching these shows; they're for entertainment. We're just relaxing and stuff, but we don't want to just turn our minds and our filters off and just engage totally.
I would not recommend that at all.
No. You want to be
discerning.
Yeah, you got to be discerning. And so that's what the point of this is. And so we're just working through this together to take a look at these and say, okay, where is there anything, it might be a movie that's not even worth your time, but sometimes there's some, even in those, there are some issues or some moral dilemmas or something that's in there that you can say, yeah, but you're talking to somebody and say, but just like in this movie, blah, blah, blah. I have some friends that sometimes we'll just sit down and we'll just banter back and forth. And our vocabulary is just clips from movies, just lines from movies back and forth, ones that we've shared. I don't know if this is just totally a guy thing or not, but it's, it can be fun. So with that comes some of the concepts that are there, and that could be a part of your conversation as well. So with this movie, Free Guy, what are the hidden messages? What are the unknown realities that must be discovered? How do you liberate Free Guy? There's one message, and then I think that can be pulled out, and we'll look at some more after we hit the spoiler section. But it's being self-aware. Guy becomes self-aware. That's not a spoiler for the movie. This NPC becomes self-aware, and with self-awareness comes moral agency. With moral agency, you become accountable, and the question is, accountable to who? So that's something that you can take out of this, and maybe talk to people. Say, yeah, man, see that movie, A Free Guy, blah blah blah, and then you talk about stuff like this, and say, yeah, but who's his creator? Who's our creator? Are we accountable to him? So that's the idea. Venture further from here into spoiler territory, where we take apart the movie a little bit more and look at some of the deeper concepts and themes.
Sounds good.
So you need like a bell or something. You go off in the background, something like a warning sign. we should put like a neon sign in the back to say this is a
spoilers.
Okay,
there's a spot right there. You can just put that there and have a remote control. Just
that would be good.
Spoilers.
That's what we need. All right. So motivated by validation. Millie, I think this was one of the good things in the movie is that she starts off and she says, she's interviewed. She and Keys, which are the two main programmers, they're the ones that created the original program upon which Free City was built. And that was a whole thing in the movie, right? That they had to go in and find out proof that they were actually their original concept was still used, which get to the part that we didn't like. We'll talk about some of that stuff. But the interview idea was pretty good, I think. And it showed her motivation. It showed Keys's motivation. Her motivation was she needed to be validated. She wanted to be shown and say, you have done a good job. You have achieved, hey, this is fantastic. You are really, really good. That's what she was looking for in this. And for Keys, it's just code. I just like to code. That's what I do. But her validation in the beginning, she realizes in the end that she doesn't need it. And she realizes that we made something great and we don't need to prove it to anyone. She says, we prove it to ourselves. We don't have to prove it to anybody else. We prove it to ourselves. And that was a good character transformation that happens in the movie. I think that maybe she was more the main character than Guy himself was. I think he was more of a tool to show the change that happens in her. My opinion, could be totally wrong. Millie faces her dragon and defeats it at the end. And at that point, she discovers that she had something better all along than validation. She had true love. Brings us together today. All right, so that's one of the things there's a couple things I like. That's one of the things I like. What does now that you took a drink and your mouth is full? What's one of the things that you liked?
So I did like the concept. It's always intriguing to see the AI concept put forth in this sort of style, taking it from a different perspective as far as the show goes, where you're not seeing it from the main character's perspective of the video game. You're seeing it from a side character and how his life is and what goes on.
Oh, you're talking about an NPC.
Yeah, an NPC's life, an NPC's existence. Get up in the morning, go to the bank. Oh no, it's getting robbed again. Okay, everyone lay down.
I can see the pitch meeting for this. It's like, imagine yourself as an NPC. And he loved I'm sorry, I don't mean to interrupt you, but he loved his life. Yes. It's like, oh, my life is beautiful. Hey, Goldie, he just had a goldfish, a very simple life. He loved it. Got up every morning, did the same thing, same routine. But imagine the programming for an NPC is going to be very small. You don't have many lines of code that are there. This thing doesn't do much. And it doesn't really have intelligence or a life of its own. But then in this game, that's where they switched it. So go ahead. I'm sorry.
And that ends up being actually useful as far as, again, the spiritual aspect of it, because a lot of times we can fall into that. We can get into the routine. We can get into a lot of just doing the actions.
Yeah.
Just basically content with our little lives. There's nothing really going on. We're just going to work, coming back, yada, yada, yada. But that's not what the Lord has for us. The Lord wants us to grow, wants us to develop, wants us to become something more than what we were. And in the end, we become so, by his intervention in our lives and by his development of us, we become so much more that when we look back, we can't imagine being so simple because of how we approach life.
Well, there is something to be said about being content and living a quiet life. I think of some Thessalonians. To just
but stagnant life.
Stagnant.
That's what it really is. It's not just a simple life being content or where the Lord has you. It's your life is stagnant. There's no growth.
Okay.
You're the same every day. And that's where he was up until the change occurred.
Yeah. And I like the switch, the change. So what motivated the change was a woman.
Well, even before that point, you had a bit of a change happen.
Because he wanted more. He was asking what else is different. He was asking his friend that. Said, what else is there in life?
He had intrigue. He had desire to understand a bit more.
But it still
cappuccino.
It still was. I love the tank scene right there. The tank. It's like, no, everything's fine. I'll go back to everything's awesome. Yes. So it was Millie, and that had to do, watch the movie and you find out that really was programmed into characters in general, and this particular one hit it, and he ended up. So this is it brings me to the other part. It's a great segue. It brings me the second thing that I liked. Keys, Millie's programming partner, the guy who just likes to code, was secretly in love with her. He didn't really know it himself, right? He needed to kick it in gear a little bit, but he had some feelings and stuff like this. And he wrote Guy based on her desires. Guy tells Millie in the end that I'm not stuck in a loop anymore, and neither are you. I'm just a love letter to you. Somewhere out there is the author. Dun, dun, dun. And then you pull back and you find Keys is the one there. But there's an eternal message in that too, is find the author, find the person who programmed this whole experience we're in. And even in modern physics, you look at it and say, is this all just a simulation? I'm thinking, yeah, it kind of is. It kind of is just a big simulation that we're in. We got to find the programmer. We got to find the one who created this whole thing. Because when we find him, we find the purpose of our existence, and we find that he wrote us a love letter, and that he created us for relationship with him. So boom, there you have it. Eternal message right there.
There's that aspect. There's also, you could draw out again, this is where does humanity start? Where does programming end and humanity start? In fact, this whole concept kind of spits in the face of evolution, the standard evolution narrative given forth, because we're just all basically programs and we're just all reacting to things. Well, no, Guy was not just reacting to things. It wasn't just built off of his code. It was more than that. He
was involved with his creation. I'm not the product of a mindless mode hole. There are some things you might not have caught in this movie. Guy gets it appears that every time he reboots in the morning and wakes up and he goes through his routine and then discovers things out there, he has a new pair of sunglasses, which means
constantly stealing sunglasses.
He's stealing sunglasses all the time.
Constantly taking out players and
Yeah.
borrowing their sunglasses.
Now, this is something that maybe is a flaw in the movie. If that were really happening, you'd have players that would be knocked out of the game all the time, and they would probably get on forums or something or make complaints, and that would probably get, you know, some visibility to the guys that are in the programming company to say, hey, we got a problem here. Something's going on, and these guys are getting knocked out.
Well, they did get the complaint immediately with the first one, and then they show up.
That's true. That's
in the
true.
bunny suit.
And I'm not sure. I'd have to watch it again to see if Keyes is wearing now the programmer, if he's always wearing a blue shirt.
That's a good question. That's actually would be an interesting thing.
Because he is the blue shirt guy in real life.
Yeah.
And he's not really playing the blue shirt guy, but he programmed him as this love letter to Millie, so to speak. So is he wearing, yeah, that's why I'm wearing a blue shirt. Is he wearing a blue shirt in the whole thing? Different shades of blue or whatever. I think he might be. I'd have to go back and take a look. Anyway, that was just something, a little trivia that you might catch. What didn't you like?
What didn't I like? There are a lot of, I guess, overtones added in that weren't necessary. Again, the language used by the kids was not a necessary scene. There was no purpose of that other than just to try to make it, I guess, seem more realistic by showing the cutaway. You could have had an adult doing the same thing. It could be trying to show that this was just kids playing the game and that kids were really doing it, but they always showed that, yeah, young kids were playing this game.
Right.
So it wasn't needed as far as story writing goes. So that definitely annoyed the snot out of me.
I will say there was that one, and maybe this is where I should bump this up to one thing that we liked. You had that one guy, and he was playing this top character, right? And this top character is really cool in the movie. I mean, in the video game itself. But then it switches to the guy who's playing it. And he is, I don't know, let's just say not the cool guy in the game, right?
Yes.
And he's sitting there and he's eating this big red licorice and he's just kind of this slobby guy. And he's yelling at his mom. And she makes this one statement, "You're 22 and still living at home. There is no God." So he is in this situation. It's probably like real life. I mean, you have these guys who are playing these top characters in real life. They're really not much of anything. And they need to move on from virtual reality into the real life and discover the green grass outside or something. So,
yeah, so there's that aspect as far as going back to the stuff that didn't like. There's that aspect. There's the concept. No concept of this thing still existing within the program is a stretch. Behind this invisible wall, why on God's green earth would you have the original program there?
Right.
On top of that, the concept for the original program is a massive stretch as far as it being interesting to basically people, to the customer base. Because the whole concept of the original game, quote unquote game, it's basically just a passive movie that you're watching, is that you're just watching NPCs be NPCs without ever actually.
I don't know if they ever really achieved that, though. I think that was their goal.
No, that was at the end that they had it going. It was like, this is a worldwide phenomenon. Yeah. Everyone loves watching this. I'm like, so it's just a TV show?
Yeah.
We already have these things. It's a TV show. It's just an AI generated TV show.
You know, there's something, okay, I'll say it real quickly. With the advance of AI right now, I'm not sure we're too far away from AI generated feature length movies.
Now, I could see there being an advantage of that. Definitely with the animation, the characters are all the same. I could see there being some intrigue of that. And maybe for a little bit, you might get a spike. But I think it's a massive step back from level of engagement. Because you're no longer being participant in the world. You're being a passive observer.
Yeah.
And I don't think that has the same appeal.
No.
as
No,
a
because you're
game.
not involved. You're not a participant. You don't
No.
have any. There's no choices that you get to make and see the consequence. Some of the more fun games to play are the ones where you actually make an impact on the world.
Yeah, in this you just sit there and watch it happen. I'd say definitely for the original fans of the game transferring over to that is you have a world that you once interacted with these characters you were once able to talk to and engage with. Now you're basically dead.
Yeah.
And you're just an observer on what is happening around you without ability to impact it.
So I think the idea of this island being the original game and getting to the island was a contrived plot device. And that really bothered me. Once you get to the end of the game, there's a lot of things that are happening. I had to suspend my disbelief so much. It really took me out of the movie. If the NPC gets there to this original island, then he proves that the game was stolen. Now, how does that do anything, really? Now, he's being shown on... Everybody's watching this, right? Around the world, where they have people all gathered around their TV sets, and that's a little bit unrealistic too, of them watching this. And so from the court of public opinion, yes, that would make a difference. But all you have to do is look at the code to see if the original code was there. Now, I worked for a company years and years ago. They were a big networking company. I'm not going to say who they were, but their code... their information was taken from a contract manufacturer they had in Asia. In Asia, this Asian company, and I can say who it is, I don't mind saying it was Huawei. And this is back in the day when Huawei wasn't that big. They took this huge networking company. And this is like the biggest networking company in the world. They took the information, the code from their servers, and then they started using it, just a copy, a straight out copy, so much so that even the comments in the code with misspellings and everything, you could prove that it was. So in this case, all you had to do with this is these guys had access to the code. They work in the company. They say, dude, that's my code right there, the original. I mean, you can maybe conceal it in some ways, but that wasn't the point. The point was it was physically concealed within the game. You can see stuff, and that was too much of a stretch.
Well, there's that aspect, and then the whole even the whole situation with the CEO and everything was really contrived, because the point of it was, he basically bought the code, so he already purchased it from the main characters, bought it for a lump sum.
Yeah.
And then he said, I just shelved it. I didn't actually use it for this one. And then he actually secretively used their code as the basis of this and lied about it, so he didn't have to pay out royalties to them. I guess the question is, in the original contract, was the royalties paid out? If you just buy the code and then shelve it, there's definitely needs to be some sort of recompense for...
Yeah, see, that was really strange. If you buy the code, period.
Yeah, you buy the code, he used the code. Does he have to pay royalties after that point? Not really.
No, unless there's really strange contract they had. If you buy the intellectual property, if you buy the code from them, you can do what you want with that code, unless there were certain clauses in there to say, whatever. They wrote that contract.
Even if it was just, I just want to use this code, and I do have a clause with them saying I need to pay X amount if I use their code in any other games. So what? Why didn't you just do it?
Okay. So
there was really no motivation for him not to have done it.
Yeah. Yeah.
Because he could have just done it and then be like, yeah, this is what I did with it. Here it is. You guys did sign over the rights to it, so I can do with it as I please. You still get a kickback from it. In fact, since he has one of the guys as his employee, just keep that guy up, give him a nice cushy job, and then have him work on basically the sequel. Have him do the main programming of that, because he already did the program for the first version,
right?
For a second version. And there's examples of that have happened with some gaming departments and some gaming development.
Okay.
So yeah, the whole concept seems to be a real stretch in order to try to get this CEO to be a bad guy.
Speaking of the CEO, that was another good segue again. That was another port that I looked at, and he was on, and he's supposed to be the guy you don't like, right?
Yeah, he's supposed to be this scumbag.
And if you recognize him, yes, he is who you think he is in real life. He's the director. I can't even pronounce his name, but he's the director of Thor Ragnarok and some others. But the CEO Antoine, I couldn't believe him as a CEO.
No.
Now you've got some goofy kind of quirky CEOs that have some characters, issues that are, I wouldn't say issues, but they're a bit of a character. And you could take a look at maybe a CEO he buys a company and he brings in a sync with him when he first steps into the building and says, I bought everything, including the sink or whatever. So you can have some weird stuff that goes on, but behind that, you have to have somebody with a business mind, acuity enough to make it to that far. I mean, this is a big company. He has to have something of substance here to be able to pull this off. This guy was just nuts.
And part of that CEO mindset is being able to identify people of value and put them in the right positions in order to benefit the entire company. And that's something he definitely demonstrated he did not have any ability of. Now, if he inherited this company from someone else, maybe I could see that sort of silver spoon concept where he's just always had this and he just takes it for granted. I could see that maybe bringing out that sort of character traits, but it definitely wasn't shown as being that. In fact, I think it was the opposite, where he's supposed to have built this company.
Yeah.
And it's like, no, this sort of individual can't build a company because he doesn't have the skill sets required. And he's unbelievable in that position as being the builder.
Right.
Because you have to have basically the loyalty of your people to be able to follow you and do late nights and get this program done and be able to release this stuff, or at least be paying people in good enough positions in order to have them work for you.
Right.
And that's something he was not doing in any way, shape, or form by the look of it.
Yeah. So I just have some quick screenshots here I want to throw up here. Guy, blue shirt guy. Just some reminders if you'd seen the movie before. And here we have Millie and Keys, the two original programmers in the game. And when Guy uses sunglasses for the first time, he reveals the real world as like a gaming world behind it all. And so there were some interesting concepts with all this. I really wanted it to be a good movie, and it just pulled me out too much. And I would not say, just from an entertainment standpoint, I would say no, it wasn't that hot. And from a general moral standpoint, I would say, man, there's a lot of stuff in there. It wouldn't be for kids. It wouldn't be for me, it wouldn't be a keeper. But some of these concepts are pretty cool. And there's some more things that we could pull out negative. I'm going to stop right there on the negative part and ask some questions. And this is the point of this video, this live stream, is to ask the questions. Are there some Christian themes in here? Are there some ideas and concepts and philosophies that we can pull out? And one of the first, I would say, and this is kind of obvious, identity and purpose. Guy breaks from we talked about this before, but it's good enough to bring out and pull out and emphasize again. Guy breaks free Guy from his predetermined role in the video game and grapples with these profound questions of reality and identity. And he discovers he's not real and he's living in this fake world. What parallels are there to the Christian life from this?
Well, the awakening, when the Lord opens your eyes to what is actually going on around you in this world, the concepts that are put forth in the Bible, the concepts that are put forth in Christianity about us all being, well, sinners lost in our sin.
Are you saying this world's not real?
Not as real as what it should be.
I would kind of disagree a little bit. I would say that, yeah, this world is definitely, and I know this is not where you're going with this, but I just want to make sure we're living in an actual real world. There's nothing fake about this. I did talk about it being kind of like a simulation before. This is solid physical laws, everything.
Oh, it's reality,
full on reality, right? But I think maybe the point that you're saying, correct me if I'm wrong, is that if you take a step back and to see that there's a much bigger picture that the world is
that's
in.
where I was going.
Okay.
So there's that aspect to pull out of it. Another one, and this one's not one that's really addressed in it. It's kind of poorly addressed, although it's supposed to be like the conclusion of it, where your identity lies and where you get your validation from.
Oh, that's okay.
Because both of those, I mean, Millie at the beginning, that's her main draw, and she's looking for validation from society.
Right.
And in case you guys haven't been aware, society's a little fickle, to say the least. So getting your identity from there, getting your validation from there is not a good source.
No, they'll turn on you in a dime.
Turn on you in a dime, and you'll be out, and you'll be a failure, and you'll feel miserable, and you'll go into a great deal of depression based upon that. If that is where you're getting your identity and your validation from, if you get your validation from a being that has always been, always will be, and is the same today, tomorrow, and forever, and your validation is not based upon anything you have done, but based upon what he has already done for you, that doesn't change.
Well, I'd say ultimate validation. That is still nice to get some validation for the stuff that you've done. Get some.
But that's what she was looking for.
Yeah,
she was looking for ultimate validation.
Right.
She wasn't looking for some temporary validation. And then she finds that validation within herself, and it's like, no.
Well, okay, so that's the other part with this. We talked about moral agency. That the NPC becomes self-aware. He's an AI. He has decisions that he can make, so he now has moral agency, which means now there's accountability. What does he base his moral compass on? How does he know? How do we know what is right and what is wrong?
I think that was a huge issue with the story.
Yeah, because they paint this utopia as like everybody can do whatever you want. You got free bubblegum ice cream and all this kind of stuff. And this could be a dystopia real quick if everybody decides on their own what is right for them, or what is good and what is bad.
Yeah, it defines morality? What defines what is good and what isn't good? Even beforehand in the Free City version of it, before the end of the show where you got the Utopia, why he's running around playing the good guy, being good in all this, but by what criteria is he using? If he's rushing in and saving NPCs and basically doing everything he can do to help out the NPCs, and that's why he qualifies as good, fine. But at the same time, is he, what is guiding his moral compass? There's really no answer for that because it doesn't have the concept.
Yeah, so let's paint a picture of what Free Guy 2 would look like. You had this great place that lasted for a couple of weeks and then just fell apart. This is like this communist dystopia that just obliterates, just explodes. Yeah, it rides on the coattails of free market for a couple of months and then just peters out. Nothing there.
Well, that would go back to the whole concept of now this would be a decent question. If is humanity inherently corrupt at this point, or are we inherently perfect? Because the communist concept, the socialist concept works if you assume that humanity by itself, left to its own devices, is inherently perfect.
Yeah.
And as long as if we could just remove these sort of things that are in the way, then it can just open up and it'll just be perfect. The problem with that is history.
Okay.
And time again, we've proven that humanity is
Yeah.
inherently corrupt. So would that apply to the AI in this concept?
That's a good question.
How strict is the control?
How much are they based on our fallen nature? So bonus points for Guy. He wants to be free and to live life to the fullest. What if I told you the phrase that he uses, he talks to his friend, what if I told you your life could be more? And this is a biblical concept itself. And I think you touched on this a little bit earlier. The thief comes to steal, to kill, and destroy. But Jesus said, I've come to give life and that more abundantly. So the idea of abundant life through freedom generally is a Christian concept. And I'm not saying it's just strictly Christian, but it's a Christian concept. But that freedom comes through something else. It is a freedom that's purchased for you by Him, and way beyond the scope of this live stream this morning. But it is something to consider. So redemption and transformation, not only Guy's transformation, but Millie's. This is not only Guy being discovering who he is, but this is Millie's transformation. And the question is, can we change enough on our own, or do we need transformative power through someone else? Do we have enough? There's some good things that maybe individually we can reform, but it's almost like I have a broken bone or a major illness, and I'm going to try to treat myself. There's only so much I can do. I need outside help for that. Any other final comments?
No, I think you're nailing it on the head there. Do we need it? Can this be self-improvement? Can we just improve ourselves to be this perfect version of ourselves? Or do we need basically outside help?
Yeah.
In order to do this. And I think the Christian message is, again, we are screwed up.
Yeah.
We have no ability we can do small improvements, but as far as being at the level that is perfection that God would require in order to enter into heaven, getting back into that relationship, we cannot do that.
Yeah. So you can use this as an analogy and to say that to get to this utopia place, they had to create this bridge, right? There's some right there. You get this bridge, right? To get across. So you can't get that by yourself. You need this outside help.
Which
Guy couldn't do it himself, right?
They did have the outside help.
Oh my gosh, this is great. Yeah.
Actually, this is by itself redeems, in my opinion, redeems the entire movie to the point of maybe this is decent because you've got this final concept. In order to enter into paradise, you needed this outside help from the creator of the game itself in order to create this bridge for you to walk across. And this came at sacrifice of himself, of his own life, as far as his career goes, because he gets fired for it. Right afterwards, he gets kicked out.
Self-sacrifice.
So the self-sacrifice in order to establish this bridge for you to be able to cross into paradise and to obtain this full life through this opportunity. And then, again, the whole thing is built off of relationships. So there's a
Mic drop.
Wow. Okay. We just redeemed this entire movie in one shot. Wow.
That was good. That was good.
That was something that was not. I don't know if that was in your notes or not.
No, not at all. I just totally missed that. That's great. So very good.
Woo!
Adam has a point. He said, "Great points. When your foundation is not rooted in ultimate transcendent good, there is no prohibition in doing evil."
Yeah, that's where it comes down to. So if it's just, and this goes to the question of morality, is there absolute morality, or is it something maybe culturally built or just personal? Like, I think this is good, so therefore it is good.
Yeah.
Cultural and personal, of course, just fall apart real easy.
We should do a live stream just on.
I have covered those in the past, but it's not bad to hit again.
Yeah.
And just because it's always definitely on college campuses is something that's argued and debated. I'm like, this is a pretty open shut case. If you don't have God, if you don't have that foundation to build off of and saying, yes, there is an inherent moral good to everything, it all falls apart. You can't argue evolution. If you try to argue from, well, it's just, this certain way we evolved, and if it's just good for the society, then it's good for everyone, and that's what defines good. Well, look at Hitler in that case. I'm sorry to pull him
they
up,
do. I think it would be worthwhile to say biblical morality versus the what's the name for it? Non-aggression principle. If you were, because that's something that's toted a lot by people who a lot in secular society today. You see that come up a lot. So it would be worthwhile to take a look at that. Say, are there flaws? Does it start to fall apart in some cases?
Well, actually, perfect example. Earlier in the series of reviews that we've done, one of the reviews that we touched on was Star Trek. And one of the ones that came up was Edge of Tomorrow. The city at the edge of tomorrow.
Okay.
And that was, in that case, it was the non-aggression principle that the woman was applying, but through that application where they did not want to go to war, there was great harm, much more harm done than just taking it.
That was on the city on the edge of forever.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. That was the correct way of saying it.
Okay, so that's another. We're running out of time, but I would say that
could be a review. That could be
another live stream
that on that one.
That would be a good one. Okay, so coming up, we've got on Monday, we have, believe it or not, virtual versus real. We're going to take another look at virtual reality again in a gaming type of situation. Not Free Guy this time, but Sword Art Online. We're going to dip our toes into anime. See what we come up with that. And then next Tuesday, looking at Christian aliens. Did God create life on other worlds? And what would it look like? And what does that mean in terms of theology? Does alien life, if we discovered alien life, would it disprove the Bible? Would it disprove Christianity? So this is a little bit deeper philosophical discussion that we're going to get into. But I think it's worth looking, especially if we're looking at science fiction. There's some really good stuff on this. It might almost be a good two-parter because there is so much material that we could look at. So if you liked what we talked about today, if you like this kind of stuff that we're doing, please let us know, share it, subscribe. Definitely like and subscribe because that helps so much. It's not even funny.
Oh, by the way, sorry to interrupt, but you have something else happening tonight, correct?
Yes. I am going to be on a guest on someone else's live stream. I should probably put, I don't know if I could put the link in the description below, but at least do that and then direct you towards that. This is from ISO Elohim's live stream. We're going to be talking about doing word study. And I would like to do a word study next Thursday as well on my own, but this is going to be on her channel. Looking forward to it. It's going to be a fun experience. Until then, enjoy your coffee the rest of the day, and we'll see you tomorrow.